Philadelphia matches up well because of the way that their talent is on the perimeter, their athletic offensive line. But I also think two other teams that I would say are capable of doing it, that I feel confident in that, is one, Green Bay, and two, the Los Angeles Rams. There's been one team that has gone toe-to-toe with Detroit this year and played them really well. The Rams week 1. They're our team, along with the Packers and the Eagles. I think those three are capable of doing it that I have the most confidence in.
That was Dan Orlovsky. He said the Rams are a team that gave Detroit some problems. So let's talk about this Rams team. John Mcmullen, Birds 365, weekday mornings, 8 a.m. on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. He joins us now on the Sports Bass Live, 97.3 ESPN. John, this Rams team's won 4 out of 5. All of a sudden, are the Rams a team that we should be paying more attention to? I think they're getting lost in the sauce because of the bleep show that's going on with the Sixers across the street.
Yeah, well, the Rams, I think, are, certainly they're relevant in the fact that obviously it's a hard-fought division out there, 6-4, 3-5-5 teams. So everybody's still in it. And, I would say people tend to default to San Francisco and the Rams because they're the ones that have done it pretty consistently, have good coaching, and the proven you tend to default to those guys. So, yeah, I certainly think they're relevant as far as a playoff team. I don't kind of agree with Dan's thought of they're in the same category as the Eagles. I think or even the Packers. I think they're a step back from that.
John, one of the things I think is going to be interesting is their receivers and the Eagles' secondary here. Do you like that matchup? Do you like the Eagles, what they do, Vic Fangio's style of defense against Sean McVay, that little chess match? Kind of give me your thoughts on that chess match.
Well, the history is Vic has gotten the best of Sean to the point. I think I talked about it before. I'm sure I talked about it on your show. If you go back to the first Super Bowl that Sean went to, it's week 11 or week 12, where they were 10-1. The Rams, clearly the best team in football, scoring 30-plus points a game. They scored 50, topped out at 54, I believe. And they went in Chicago. It was Vic's last year as Chicago's defensive coordinator before he got the Denver job. And in many ways, he got the Denver job because of that performance. And they gave up 6 points to that Rams team. And the impressive part of that was, the Rams went right back to normal after that en route to the Super Bowl. And then, for people that don't know, Bill Belichick essentially copied what Vic Fangio did in the regular season and beat the Rams and really confounded them in the Super Bowl. So then when you take that from there, Sean McVay specifically hired Brandon Staley to be his defensive coordinator to run Vic's system. So that's the kind of impact Vic Fangio has had on Sean McVay over the years. I tried to get him to talk about it earlier this week. He didn't bite. Obviously, you don't want to make the mistake of thinking you have something solved, because certainly Sean McVay is going to make adjustments. But that's the beauty of Vic Fangio. When you say, one thing I've learned, and I've said it in the past with Jonathan Gannon and Sean Desai, so many people run Vic's scheme, but they don't run it like Vic. And by that, I mean, if you watch Vic against New Orleans and Vic against Washington, it's two completely different game plans for two unique opponents. So he will toggle back and forth. He will do different things. Whereas the other guys who sort of copy him sort of keep the same structure. So that's where I think he sets himself apart. And he's certainly done it against Sean McVay in the past. And we kind of talked about it. You and I kind of talked about it. Did Pittsburgh show the blueprint? Mm-hmm. And they blitzed, 53% of the time. Vic had 35 opportunities. He played zone. He rushed 4 on 33 of them. He's not concerned about what other people are doing. He's sort of the leader of the pack. Everybody else is sort of a follower.
All right, John, let's talk a little bit about his defense. In your mind, is losing Bryce Huff, what kind of impact is that? I know a lot of people would just kind of scoff and laugh. He hasn't played well. He hasn't done much. What kind of impact is Huff, the loss there, or not big, and where do they make those snaps up? Not that he plays a lot.
Yeah, but I do think, he hasn't played a lot since he got hurt. He played 6 snaps against Jacksonville. He got hurt pregame. Then he played 12, I think, in 14. So, but before that, he was playing in the 20s, mid-20s for the most part. So I do think it's a hit. Obviously, he's not lived up to expectations. He's certainly not lived up to what the Eagles expected when they signed him to a $51 million contract. But he was an important part of the rotation, and now they don't have that fourth part of the rotation. So over the past 3 weeks, Josh Sweat has been playing more. Brandon Graham has been playing more than probably the Eagles want them to. With Nolan Smith, not as big as a deal because they want him to get better and play more snaps anyway. And the good news today is Jalix Hunt was back at practice, just got out of the bubble. The weather's bad, but he was back at practice, so it looks like he's going to be able to play. So he steps into that fourth role, and you want him to play more than those 12 or 13 or 14 snaps because that was because of the injury. That was not because of they were scaling back from his 20, 25, somewhere in that range. And that has more to do with keeping things manageable for Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham. Because as well as they played, you saw last year with Josh, he played great early, and he didn't play well late, which kind of defined all the Eagles. But he was one of the biggest culprits, and a lot of that had to do with a career high in snaps where he just destroyed his previous career high, and he started to wear it down. And then with Brandon, obviously, it's amazing what he's able to do, but he's 36, and the more you play him, the more.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, John. Weren't you at the beginning of the season saying play him more because this is the end of the road?
Yeah, and I've been right on that, but they're playing him way more.
All right, so they're playing him more than you anticipated.
Yeah, they're paying him compared to what he has been the last 2-3 seasons. So that was sort of my framework when I made that prediction. I thought he was going to play more. Plus, I kind of knew when Vic saw him, he'd love him. And that's exactly how it unfolded. But now he's playing like a starter. He's playing starter snaps. And that was not the plan. That's too much. So it's a give and take, obviously. And if Brandon's not going to say, take me out, but it's natural if you're playing that many snaps. I mean, it's probably, he's probably going to wear down late in the season.
John Mcmullen is, of course, brought to you by Boardwalk Honda. Shop their lineup of new pre-owned and certified pre-owned Hondas online at boardwalkhonda.com. Devontae Smith, are you starting to get a little concerned here, or is this just going to be the way this goes the rest of the year? Is he going to be like one of these guys that has to sit out practice? They hope he can go, or do you anticipate there's a time where they might have to find a game or something to sit him? He did not practice again today.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit different over the past 2 weeks because he would be out there on Wednesday and at least helping out. Sometimes he'd throw passes into drills. He'd be out there stretching. And this week he hasn't been out there. So I think it's a little bit different. A bunch of us saw him come off the field against Washington. He was limping pretty badly coming off the field. So it may have gotten worse. The fact that he wasn't back out there today is a bad sign. Now he is one of the deference players, I like to call him. If he can do anything on Friday, he's the type of guy that they'll let play. It's not like there's certain people that have to practice to play. He's not in that category. because they trust him. But, yeah, it's a concern that he might not be able to go this week.
All right, John McMullen, I was talking with somebody who covers the Rams earlier today, asked what the biggest, concern for them was. They said their secondary against Philadelphia. Would you look at the pass game this week and think that that's an area for Kellen Moore to exploit?
Yeah, it should be, but we've been talking about that for weeks. For whatever reason,
well, and just to preface, I was on John's show yesterday, and you talked about this pass game, 22 in the league. If they don't succeed this week, and we start to think that this pass game is just are they an average pass game? Are they a good pass game? How would we describe them?
Well, right now they're below average. Of all the categories listed, and I'm not even talking about traditional statistics. I'm talking about, more advanced stuff and film work and things like that. They're below average, and that shouldn't be with the talent they have. So, yeah, it's been a disappointment, and we keep talking about it. And, yeah, the Rams struggle in the secondary and struggle in coverage, and typically you would say this is a chance for the Eagles to get the passing game going. But, now that we're in the guts of the season, one thing that Nick Sirianni has proven and he's told the truth about is, he'll do whatever it takes to win a game. And if you struggle early passing the football and Saquon gets going, they're going to ride Saquon and win the game. And that's what they should do. But again, when you're talking about this team, it depends what you're doing. Are you worried about beating the Rams on, whatever Sunday is, November, whatever, or you're worried about winning the Super Bowl? If you're worried about winning the Super Bowl, they got to get this passing game going by hook or by crook. And I don't know when it starts, but it's got to start soon.
John McMullen, of course, the Eagles getting ready for the Rams. We'll have plenty more tomorrow on this matchup. Sunday Night Football, you can listen to the game on 97.3 ESPN. John, of course, here on the Sports Bash, brought to you by Boardwalk Honda. Shop their lineup of new, pre-owned, and certified pre-owned Hondas online, boardwalkhonda.com. All right, bud, we'll catch up with you tomorrow.
All right, thanks, Mike.